over from work session first?
Yes, I believe I heard the mayor talk earlier that we were going to do it either right before visitor comments or right after. I can't recall, but it was going to be at the beginning. Yep.
Matt, do you have the flag ready to go?
Yep, I am ready to go.
Hold on, Doug. Hey, Doug. Hey, Matt. Matt, I got Councilor
Yes.
President Morton on the phone, and he says that he was cut off. He got flagged by you or something. He's been trying to get on.
Oh, I apologize. I haven't seen him pop on.
I see his name right there.
Is his name on there?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
still on, Doug. You're still on. Let's see.
I've asked him to start his video.
Yeah,
should
Doug,
get a
you should get a pop-up saying that you want to start your video.
Got
There
it.
we go.
There you are. Okay. All right.
Sorry, Doug.
Okay, so we'll call this council regular session to order Wednesday, June 16th. Time is 7 p.m. Please allow me to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and so for those of you just joining in, we had some issues with City Hall, down at City Hall earlier with Wi-Fi. So after visitor comments, we will be covering 3 different topics that we were not able to cover. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up for visitor comments. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise your hand, and then we will get to you. Well, I'd like to make a comment, and this is a good place for it. Our officers today, Officer Coy and Officer Howe, usually observe a elderly citizen at a daily basis near a residence, IGA. They stop in there often to get a sandwich. And not seeing him for a few days, they researched where he lives in town and went to his home. And after knocking, they heard some faint thumping and forced entry into the home and discovered him on the floor. The victim had suffered a massive stroke, and he had fell on Sunday and had been there for quite some time, and was medically transported today. And we are hope he gets a speedy recovery. And it's just one of those examples of 2 officers who have been here for quite some time, who have gotten familiar with the gentleman that they see at IGA, and both thought, we haven't seen him in a while. That's the difference between having officers here for a length of time versus brand new officers. It paid dividends today, and hopefully, again, we wish this gentleman a speedy recovery. So
Amazing story. Thank you.
it really is. Brady, if you'd like to go ahead and make a comment. Oh, we heard you for a second, Brady.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So I guess the first comment I wanted to comment was to sort of complain about the internet issues that the city has had after you have spending all the additional dollars that you are spending with your new IT person. I think it's not great performance. And you know, you've had audio issues since the new contract. You've had internet issues, and it's like you've had a lot of excuses, and it seems like you've had enough time that there shouldn't be excuses anymore. The second comment that I had was to sort of congratulate Jessica Chilton for sort of being the champion of people that are not afraid to look dumb in public. And, you know, when she ran for the job, apparently, she didn't realize that reading was a requirement and that, you know, for the job, and, you know, feels no problem about acting like, gee, I was handed a packet with information on the dark market and I was supposed to know that. And it's like, yeah, that's actually part of the job. You know, as a general rule, people may not know, but I host a weekly talk show, and typically for every minute of airtime, there's 4 to 5 minutes of prep time. And I think that's a general rule. And I certainly understand, you know, that maybe you didn't realize that at the time. But it takes time to be a city councilor. And before you start making comments about stuff that you should certainly be aware of, like a whole new store that's been there now for several weeks, and I myself have been in there probably 4 times. And by the way, they have great cookies and snacks, that you should probably do a little research. Secondly, I'd like to follow up on to know if anyone has actually acknowledged that Mr. Topaz is following the rules of the censure and is not in fact violating them. I personally find it hard to believe that the censure has made any difference, and wouldn't like to know who's in charge of policing that and who in fact is responsible for assuring that he abides by those terms. And if he doesn't, then, you know, what's step 2? Thanks.
Okay, so I'll answer to the later part of that question, that Councilor Topaz was allowed to come in and check his mailbox, and that he has done that, but he's also made some short talk inside City Hall, which Councilor Topaz, if you're going to want to do that, you really should probably set up a meeting in order to do that, because it does look as a perception that that you are being allowed still in City Hall. So you are allowed to come in and check your mailbox, grab what information you need. But if you want to even make small talk with Michael in the building department, you're gonna have to make an appointment. I apologize, but that's the way it is, and we are here to enforce these rules. And I noticed that, and I did follow up on that. So me personally, and I was actually going to talk to you off to the side where I feel it should be done, but Brady brought it to the public's attention, and I was going to talk to you about this personally. And so I just want to make the rest of the council aware of that. It was just, you know, he was coming in, and but he was in City Hall for a little while, doing small talk. So he has to check in on those occasions. So just want to let everybody know. So Councilor Topaz, please keep it, just come in, get your mail. And if you need anything from any of a staff member, reach out to John Walsh as requested, and make that appointment. Okay. So any other visitor comments?
I don't see any, Mayor.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to go back to our work session items. And I think it was Matt first, it was going to public safety facility timeline discussion and next steps.
Yep. So thank you, Mayor.
Yep.
I did email all the city council members this PDF that I'm going to share here. So you should have a copy in your email box to reference later. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here so you can see it. This is a kind of a rough timeline that we wanted to share with you that I put together with John, just to give you kind of a roadmap of where we are going over the next couple years, year and a half or so, starting in July. You can see there's different sections of what council responsibilities have, staff responsibilities, consultants that are hired, the general public, and then city funding, which is the revenue bond that the city will be going out for. The council in late July, the second meeting, we're hoping to get an approval for an RFQ for design services to pretty much get us to the point of bidding for the public safety facility project, which you can see is kind of outlined at the end of the timeline in January of 2023. The consultant timeline was something that McKinsey had put together as an estimate for us to work for in the future. You see some staff deadlines here of doing the bond financing, the RFQ, and then assisting with any of the design development meetings that are coming up. You can see the timeline for the consultants. That is a rough timeline that we are building off of for the RFQ that hopefully will be approved in July. For the city council in July, you will also see a resolution for the revenue bond. This is basically an approval to go out for the amount of the revenue that's needed to build the public safety facility. We are showing a potential voting date for a resolution for the public safety fee in November, in anticipation that the public safety fee will begin in January of 2022 for the community. And that will be a monthly amount per equivalent dwelling unit. A couple other big things here. The city is anticipating getting the initial funding for the project in probably September, October timeframe, with the first payment due in June of 2022. As designed and discussed with you earlier, it's the interest-only payments for our first few years as we start to get things going. So, and then we're showing a January 2023 for the bid award going out, finalizing the bidding for actually building the public safety facility. For a rough timeline for the building, we are anticipating about a year to actually construct the building. So you're looking at probably late 2023 or 2024 as far as a grand opening potential. But we wanted to get this timeline out to you just so when you talk to the public, you have kind of the best knowledge and idea of where we are as a city and the roadmap for moving forward. So John and I are happy to answer any questions. And John, if you wanted to add any comments or notes.
Just real high level, the purpose of this exercise is part of project management and keeping communication and doing all the things to deliver a project for you in a timely manner and meet your expectations. So we don't map these things out there. The roads are usually a lot longer. So we don't have milestones and goals and these kinds of things.
Were there any questions from City Council?
My question would be when will we adopt the actual fee, whether it be $3, $4, a set amount,
Yep.
that's never going to go up. That's what I want to know what it is so we can start pushing this out to the public. I know it was kind of narrowed down a little bit, but I think there was a little bit of fluctuation with some of our general fund money that.
Yeah, so we've obviously made some, you've made some agreements over the last couple of months with, in regards to police staffing and police wages and benefits that does dramatically impact the general fund's ability. You've also have some dedicated revenue for the ACSP and general fund revenue that we're dedicating. So we've talked earlier about a $2 fee. We may come back to kind of help build that cushion for the council to discuss somewhere between a $2, $3, or $4. We still believe that is palatable for the community who we originally talked to about $6 to $11. But that will be a future discussion probably in October with a resolution coming in November for approval. And then if that fee is approved as intended, that fee would begin in January of 2022 and next year.
Okay, so comfortably, being how I got staff here, we could comfortably say it would be no more than $4. Is that what I hear you saying?
Absolutely. My plan was to kind of lay out those roadmaps of what a $2 and $3 and $4 looks like.
Yes.
And the city council would have to decide for sure, probably likely in October, what fee they would like to see in November for a resolution to pass.
So with that, we would be presented with 3 options. If it's the $2 option, about what the impact would be on general fund and how we'd have to adjust all that. The same for the 3 and the 4. I have to say, I mean, of course, I'm not making cannot say I'm going to make a decision until actually at that time, but I am really, really, really reluctant to, especially after the last ones, to even if $4 is still below, $3-4 is still below the 6 to 11 that we're looking at. I really would have to be convinced to go above 2, really solid case for that. So I'm not saying no, I can't I can't do that. But I would really need to be convinced, because it took a lot of convincing for me to even move ahead with going ahead with public safety fund without taking it to the voters. So yeah, so I'm glad that you are working on those
We talked
options so that we can look at that.
and it was a 30-year sunset, right?
Yes, it's a 30-year sunset, and that could change, if we do come up with additional funding to pay it off early, or set aside funds to not have to do a utility fee, then yes. And Patrick Berkeley, definitely, I think it's my responsibility as your finance director to present you all of the options, to give you the information to make the most educated decision.
Yes, and I believe, and I believe you do that. I believe you do that, Matt. I just wanted to make sure that as we're going out, that's going to be happening. So yeah, so thank you. I appreciate it.
And I do want to preface too that, when and if the city council passes a utility fee, and if there is a adversely negative impact on the community, you will always have the option in the 30 years to go out for a bond to put it to the voters if you want to, say a year later or 5 years later, and
That's
right. Community says, you know what, I'm tired of paying it on my utility bill. Just take it out of my taxes. I don't care. You have the option as a council to make that decision and make that change if you wish to. So that option will always be available to you. It could also be you put it on, we put the utility fee on in January, let's say, and let's say you do decide to go out for an actual bond through property taxes, and say it doesn't pass the first time. And so you try a second time and you just continue that utility fee either until you've exhausted as many times as you want to go out as a city council, or if it passes, then that utility fee comes off and we start collecting property taxes for it. So anytime you can make that decision as a council to make that change.
Now, I was just looking at that budget originally proposed, and it was exact to that $2. I mean, it was really narrowed down to a pinch point, and that was adding every bit of revenue, little extra revenue that we had, that some of it was going into the general budget. And that's just me speaking. This is just me speaking. I think the 3 for 30 is kind of got a little ring to it, and would give that little tiny bit of cushion that this city needs in order to move forward and looking at those numbers.
Well, and what about, we had at one point talked about other funding sources also, timber sales possibility, looking at different things that we can throw in there to throw that price down there. So I'd be interested in having a discussion on that again as we get a little bit closer to nailing down the exact fee.
Yeah, and on that note, Councilor Chilton, we specifically, myself and John, put together a funding plan that is very flexible. And especially in our assumptions, as far as showing a low growth assumption for our equivalent dwelling units, as well as not including additional revenue that you could put in, like timber, like the sale of property, like potential grant money, COVID relief funds, if those are still remaining impossible to be used. So is a lot of flexibility in the plan, and that is by design.
And I just want to remind this council, and it's not, it's Measure 5 and 50 that set our tax rates. We are the lowest in Columbia County, other than Columbia City, as far as property taxes. And the reason being is because the mills that shut down, the revenue that was brought in from those mills, and it was locked in. And we are stuck at that rate. And that's what we operate on, even through the bad years, even though the years are good right now. And I don't want to be like talked about down the road that mayor and this council set us up for failure. So keep that in mind. I mean, this goes beyond just our short period of being here. So.
Yeah. Well, yep. Is that the timeline that you showed us? Is that available in digital format or something? I don't recall seeing
Yes.
it. Maybe I overlooked it in our packets or.
It was not included in your packet because it was not finished in time.
Okay.
To be put in, but I did send you all an email of the PDF, so you should have that in your inbox.
Okay.
As well as it will be added to the public safety facility page on the website, so it will be available for the public to see.
All right. Thank you. I hadn't checked my email between meetings here. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. So our next item was Mohammed. No, he came in. He
Brian
came in.
Green.
Yeah, it was Brian. So review new records and evidence specialist job description. Chief Greenway.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the kind words to the officers. I'll certainly pass that along to them. So in front of you this evening, Council and Mr. Mayor, is a request to change a job description, just to make it as simple as possible and as easy to digest for everybody. We are not asking for additional staffing. We are simply taking our clerical staff who works at the front of the station, greets our public, and assist with evidence in changing their job description to ensure that what they do within a classification. And so when, for example, if an individual comes to the police station to check out evidence, this will allow our clerical staff to assist that customer, return their evidence without having to call an officer in from the road, a sworn officer, which ultimately takes time off the road. This job classification would then allow our clerical staff to act in the capacity that we're using sworn officers right now, to include transporting evidence to the crime lab, the state police crime lab, gathering evidence for prosecution and trials. And ultimately, it's going to save our taxpayers overtime dollars by keeping our officers on the road and not have to call in officers to do that duty, as well as as you explained today, Mr. Mayor, we want our officers in the field serving our citizens and not doing, I don't want to say mundane tasks, but doing clerical work that can be done by other individuals who aren't as, impacting the community as much as our sworn officers. So again, this is ultimate goal is to reduce the overtime expenditures, keep our officers on the road, available to the community and to serve the community, as well as ensure our clerical staff works inside the classification. So that's in front of you tonight. It's just kind of cleaning up, the job description to make sure we have all of our ducks in a row, as simple as I can put it. So, and I'm happy to answer any questions for anybody if you have any.
Chief, how did we get in this condition that we only could use officers as evidence transport?
Well,
is that something St. Helens did, or is that a state rule?
No, it's kind of, I would say it's almost a perfect storm. So we actually contracted with the individual who worked for the Columbia County Sheriff's Office. And when that contract expired, that individual did not want to renew it. And so we kind of went through a series of individuals who didn't work out, so to speak, and we continued to have to rely on our sworn officers to do this job. And full disclosure, because of the council support of the police department and your approval of the recent wage adjustment, the new public safety facility, we were able to kind of attract better quality employees who have the capability of completing this task. And the reason we want them both to be in this classification, so we don't have a single point of failure and we have these individuals cross trains. And what I mean by that is that having both these positions, our clerical staff having the same classification, if one is out on an extended leave or vacation, the other one can pick up the task, so we don't always get in the backlog. And that historically, the police department has done that. They've relied on individuals instead of a system, and it's ultimately cost us overtime and cost us delays. And so it's nobody's fault. It's just a systems issue, Counselor. So in approving this change would eliminate that challenge for us.
So just basically a systems cleanup. And
100%. We're
Okay.
progressing and putting systems in place.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Hey, Chief. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, so our next item is review community support fund grant application. Kathy, who was also dead in the water earlier.
So the application was in your packet. It's been shortened. I took 2 pages off. I think I took some of the language that was in the 3rd and 4th page and kind of added it a little bit into what was already on this 1st, 2nd, and 4th pages or 5th pages. So I think it's a lot better. I would really like to hear from you guys though, and see if it's something that is needing to be pared down even more, or if I think it's adequate in that it addresses what we want to get from the donation. You know, we want to know what's going on, what they're using it for. So I think it covers that.
Yeah. Anybody have any comments on that?
The one comment I had, Kathy, is it seemed to have like an awful long window to get into it. If you weren't in a year ahead of time, I was worried about people who just found out they had a problem, say 6 months before. That was my only question.
Well, the council did talk a little bit about doing it not just once a year, but doing it twice a year. And
Okay,
that's
so-
what I would recommend.
Okay, I agree with that.
Okay.
I would agree.
Yeah, the shortened form is a lot less intimidating, and I think it does provide information to provide for accountability, and also nice job on paring it all down.
No, thank you.
And I would still like to encourage that we have flexibility though, as far as a council for like the prom that just happened. They're not going to know they had to fill out a form. They're going to come to us. I still want to have some flexibility when something like that, the school district approaches us for a senior prom, especially with COVID and all things considered. If it's a legitimate, we could review the applications. If it's legitimate, we could expedite the process if we feel it's time sensitive. I still want to keep it twice a month, but we are the city council and people don't understand that I need to apply 6 months ahead. They come to the city looking for help sometimes legitimately, and we need to act. So that's kind of, it's a little bit rigid there. And I'm not saying, but there's going to be those times that it happens. I can guarantee you, and your hearts are going to go, we can't because of this rule every 6 months. Trust me, it's going to be something that's near and dear to each and every one of you over your time serving. So I just want you to keep that in mind, okay?
I do have that in mind, Mayor, and I think especially with as I was saying, before with the scouts, as someone who was involved with scouts, it was something that was very
near and dear.
Yeah, that very dear to me. But until we came up with this process, it was something that, I still felt I could not accept that without, approve that without some kind of process. So it may happen again, but yes,
And
so
that
I
one was
do,
the-
I
that
do
one-
keep it in mind, Mayor.
Yes, and that one was different because it was one of our functions where a lot of vendors applied that were nonprofit. The school district prom there's no competing proms or anything else like that. And that was $350 for a dessert table. So I just want to throw that out there that there are going to be those occasions that come up. So I think we should also understand that we, as a council, should be a little flexible if it feels right and somebody comes proposing to us. We need to have that discussion either amongst ourselves in an executive session. If we don't want to make it, just to talk about it, because that's where we can consult with our council. Well, that's where we can do that, Patrick, and say why, or do it publicly, why we feel this situation is differently. That's not, maybe it doesn't meet executive session criteria. It probably doesn't. You're probably right. But I just want to let everybody know that's going to happen. I just see it.
Mayor Scholl, I totally see your point. I really do. But I also think that it's important that we strongly encourage a process. That way there is a matter of consistency. So that one agency, that comes and asks is getting it, but someone else is getting told no. So we have to, there has to be some type of process.
I would echo that. Also, once we get this established and it's publicized enough that people know what the council's expectations are, I think over time, people are going to be a little bit more forecasting their budget more so that they know when to ask for funds. But yes, there will be an occasional need that the council can address at that time, I believe.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. I think everybody's okay with the application, Kathy, is what I heard.
Great. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, our strategic action plan updates. Matt.
Thank you. I do have a couple things just to mention to the council, and then maybe one discussion item. Just to update the council, the city closed the RFQ process for the industrial park. We did receive a few applications for that. So staff is reviewing that currently and is meeting next week to hopefully make a recommendation to the city council in July to move forward on that project. Also, I'm not sure if John mentioned the Millard Road property RFQ closed. And so that will be, you'll see those results in a report from John or Jenny coming up at a future council meeting as well. One thing I did want to share with you, I know Councilor Morton and Chilton have seen this because they were at the Parks meeting on Monday, but we wanted to share with the city council just some upcoming changes in the parks that you're going to see. For a number of years, and Muhammad is here and he can fill in the holes of whatever I missed. But over a number of years, we've obviously gone with wooden benches, picnic tables specifically. And so as a course of change and kind of looking towards the future of what Muhammad and Shauna and I are kind of pressing to kind of increase the level of what we do in our parks. And so this is part of that process, is using some of the funds that are already in the parks budgets to do some replacements of these picnic tables that are a little bit worn and honestly take staff a lot of time to replace or repaint and fix up. So what we're planning on doing is, with your approval, is purchase some new picnic tables. As you can see here, the color that's been selected by staff is a navy blue. So it does kind of match the color scheme of the city. It will still have the black iron on the bottom. These tables are, as you can see, kind of perforated. They have a little bit of pattern in them, so they won't collect rainwater like some of the picnic tables do as well. And we are going to also, as you see here, have ADA tables available. The plan right now is to have 3 at Columbia View Park and 3 also at McCormick Park, near the picnic shelters of each one. So that will be available. So we are going to start with Columbia View Park and McCormick Park. And then assuming that goes well and we get some positive feedback and they seem to work well, we will start to kind of redistribute these throughout all the other parks where we have old wooden benches. It did come up at the Parks Commission, what are we going to do with the old benches? So I know Shauna has plans to reach out to some of our nonprofit groups and organizations, potential businesses that may want to reuse those park benches. Some of them just need to be repainted. Some of them just need a new slab of wood to be put on there. The other potential is that we could also offer these to community members if they want to purchase them or pick them up, if we want to offer them for free. So it could be a nice feature in somebody's backyard if they want a table. They just may have to repaint it or replace the wood. So a couple other things that you're going to see in McCormick Park are some new barbecues. There's currently one over by the shelter and the bathroom. That's going to be replaced with these new double grills with a shelf. We're getting 3 of those, so those will be available at each shelter in McCormick Park. And then we're also going to replace some of the trash cans. So the trash cans that you see here, the color is going to be black. The lid will be the rain lid that you see on the right here. So we have a lot of issues with the current trash cans that we have now. Most of you probably know they are painted from the Arts and Cultural Commission. A lot of events that have been done at July 4th. They are starting to rot in the bottom. They also collect a lot of rain throughout the year because there is no lid on them. So they can be very heavy at times. So with this change, like I said, increasing the look of our parks is at hand when we're trying to replace these. So we're hoping some of these changes will reflect positively in the community. We wanted to just let you know that we're looking to make these change and kind of get your approval and okay to start moving forward on these changes.
So what did the Parks Commission think other than, wondering what about the old park benches?
They were all in support. Councilor Martin and Councilor Chilton happened to be at the meeting on Monday. And so they also talked about the positive changes they've seen in parks, along with when we've brought in Shauna, some new management and some new ways of looking at things. We've seen a lot of positive improvements in our community of feedback. And I'm not sure if Councilor Morton or Chilton wanted to share any comments they heard.
Yeah, while you're on that note about improvements and improvement of quality issues, one of the things that was brought up was that there was a couple hundred people at the 6th Street Ballpark some time ago, and there was only one porta potty, and there was a huge line, and people were complaining about that issue. It was reported to the Parks Commission by a Parks Commissioner. So with that, there was a little bit of talk about with the franchise agreement, possibly looking at a donation, but there was not a motion on that. But the discussion was, is it possible through, and how does this work now? Is it Parks and Rec that will look at and facilitate the needs of porta potties for large sporting events or any kind of events that are going on? Do they anticipate that? And hopefully the learning curve is very small on that. Hopefully it happens sooner rather than later. So hopefully that's the last we'll hear of any complaints about porta potties and large crowds gathering. And so apparently the permitting is and for all the council to know this, does the permitting for the parks go through the Parks and Rec department now?
If I can answer, Doug, yes, it does. And especially now that we have Shauna there as a Parks and Recreation manager, she's really helping develop that process, which has been absent for many years.
The second
so part of that process is, if I just can add one quick thing, when we get those park reservations and we see what the amount of people that are potentially there, that will trigger a requirement for either the applicant or the city to contact Hutchin and request more porta potties if that is needed.
The second part of that about reservations, I've had many calls about this, is that individuals and service clubs that do work in our parks, such as the Lions Club and Rotary and Kiwanis, they all do work in in the past, we've had special privileges when they have their meetings in the park that they that we would kind of like acknowledge the permit for that when they have their meeting in the park. Will that continue, and will that go through Shauna, or how is that going to work? Because I got a call from the Garden Club who wants to do their meeting in September, I believe. It might be in July. I'll have to look my calendar. But one of those meetings, they want to use the McCormick Park facility with a covered roof, so that in case it rains, they can pull off that meeting. So that's, I didn't know what to say, because I know things are changed. And in the past, I would say, yes, no problem, I'll go down and get that permit. So I don't know what to say to those people unless I hear from you folks of how it's going to be managed.
Yeah, always encourage them, if you have anything with Parks and Recreation, to contact Shauna. She's going to be your main contact for everything to go through. And especially on some of these special use permits that you're seeing from organizations that do volunteer work in our parks. I did have a conversation with Shauna, and she is reaching out to some other communities to see what they have already in place, because we have a lot of community groups that you mentioned. We also have a lot of organizations that help keep our ball fields intact. And so we want to make sure that we're honoring those volunteer hours that they are working. So that we can give them either those free rentals or reduced rates or anything like that. So that is definitely in the works and will be coming as a policy for the Parks and Recreation program moving forward.
Yeah, it seems to me like that with this request was with the Garden Club, they don't do a carte blanche kind of thing that they can use at any time. It's just once or twice a year. And that's when they have their annual kind of thing, and they want it out in the park, and they do a lot of work. For in McCormick Park and for our Triangle, all kinds of places, and it's the same with the Daybreakers and Kiwanis. They take care of Walnut Tree Park. They take care of a lot of things. So it's just something that I need to know the answer of before I tell them yes, no, or whatever. But I will have them call Shauna.
Yep.
So
Okay.
in future growth in that All Abilities Playground, it'd be nice to, I heard you talk about the handicap tables being 3 by the covered structures. Be nice to have a couple out there, maybe on a pad, so they are accessible.
We did specifically talk about tables that are outside of the park shelter areas, specifically for Columbia and McCormick. What we have decided as staff at the moment was we can maybe put a couple out there for right now, but until we go through a master plan process for McCormick Park, before we lay down a concrete pad, and then especially in Columbia View Park, we want to wait to see what the waterfront is going to do. We don't want to just put a concrete pad and then 6 months from now, rip it out. So there will be some tables around in the grass. They may just not be bolted down, or they may not be on a concrete pad, because we don't know what the future may hold.
And I really like the rainproof garbage cans, because you can pull those plastic ones out after 2 months of use, swap new ones that you've already rinsed out at the shop, grab them, stack them, take them back, rinse them out, leave them for the next park rotation, and just swap them out 2 months at a time when they start getting stinky and with their plastic.
Correct. Yeah. Park staff was really excited. They were involved in this process of helping pick out the tables and the garbage cans, and really talking with them about what works and what doesn't work. It does have a locking mechanism on the side so that people can't get in and out. It also has a locking lid so that people can't remove the lid. We have an issue with our current trash cans of people putting their household garbage and just
big
taking
bags
it and putting it in there.
bags.
Big bags.
Yep.
So being able to kind of hone that in a little bit and hopefully diminish some of the trash that we see in those will help with the new trash cans. And they will also be mounted to the ground, so nobody will be able to pick them up and take them away if somebody tries to steal a garbage can.
All right. Any other
Um,
things on your strategic action?
I do have
Yep.
one more thing, and it was very apparent in our issues today with Comcast. We did receive word that it was a Comcast issue, so nothing that our IT would have been able to do anyways, unless we had another provider. But on that note, we are gearing up and have a video audio company coming in tomorrow and Friday to finish out the council room for getting ready for going back to in-person meetings. One thing that came up during management meetings, and we wanted to clarify with you as a council for direction, is what you would like to do as far as using Zoom or not using Zoom. We will still, if we do not use Zoom, we will still be able to stream to our website. That was the plan before COVID with our MuniCode software. And so we would still be streaming to our website live. However, we would not be doing Zoom. The other option is to continue doing Zoom. It's a little more complicated. It takes more people. Usually it's two people, somebody to do what Kathy does and somebody to do what I do during meetings. So it is a little more cumbersome, but it can be done. The staff recommendation would be to go away from Zoom and really just go back to real in-person meetings the way they used to be. And so we wanted to just very much clarify with the council of direction for making sure our audio video technicians know what they're going to be building.
Back to the way it was. And if we have a big public hearing or forum, we can use the rec center for that meeting.
Yeah, we will still have capabilities of doing Zoom in the council chambers. It's just a little more cumbersome to try and do live meetings in person and Zoom at the same time.
I like the possibility, the option of allowing input remote from Zoom, even at regular meetings, because I think it would allow for people with mobility problems or inability to attend in person. And I think maybe even residents who might not be able to, say, come to a meeting because they are elsewhere, to provide them the opportunity to still participate, at least through during the public comment time.
And we have phoned in before, Patrick, for those special occasions where somebody was requesting that ability.
Yeah, you will have phone capabilities, as well as you will always have the capabilities of somebody writing a letter or doing a public comment through Kathy in our city recorder, and then it's read on the record. We've done that many times in the past and shared those letters and emails with you as well.
Just want to make sure
Yes, you have. I think we can maybe make sure that if we do go back to the former way, that we emphasize the other options of providing input that you mentioned, to assure people that this is not a step away from allowing public comment. So that sounds all right.
Okay, Matt, anything else?
Nope, I think I have clear direction. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. Excuse me. Ordinance final reading, ordinance 3267, an ordinance to annex and designate the zone of certain property at 58551 Kavanaugh Avenue.
You need a motion on that?
I do.
I make a motion that we accept ordinance number 3267.
I second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve ordinance 3267. Council President Morton,
Aye.
Councilor Topaz,
Aye.
Councilor Chilton,
Aye.
Councilor Berkeley.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye as well. Ordinance, first reading, ordinance number 3268, an ordinance to annex and designate the zone of certain property at 35116 D's Lane. And then ordinance, first reading, ordinance number 3269, an ordinance to annex and designate the zone of certain property at 505 North Vernonia Road. And then we have resolution number 1923, a resolution determining that there a nuisance exists upon property located at 496 South 13th Street within the city of St. Helens, and directing that notice to abate the nuisance be posted on said premises.
I move that we adopt resolution number 1923 as read.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve resolution 1923. Council President Morton,
Aye.
Councilor Topaz,
Aye.
Councilor Chilton,
Aye.
Councilor Berkeley,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Resolution number 1924, a resolution authorizing a transfer of appropriations within a fund for the fiscal year 2021 or 2020-2021.
I move we adopt resolution number 1924 as read.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve resolution 1924. Council President Morton,
Aye.
Councilor Topaz,
Aye.
Councilor Chilton,
Aye.
Councilor Berkeley,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Now we'll open it up for public comment. If there's any public comment, please raise your hand. It's for the increase in garbage and recycling rates. And if you have any comment on it, what was in our presentation to an earlier in our work session is that the county increased the rates for Hudson Garbage 2.6%. They're asking for a 2.6 rate increase because of not just that, but also wages and keeping up with the demand for trying to hire drivers has been very competitive lately. So, so if you have any visitor comments, well, I'm not seeing any public comment. No hands are raised. Check one more time. Okay. Resolution number 1926, a resolution establishing garbage and recycling rates and superseding resolution number 1859.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there's been a motion made and seconded to approve resolution 1926. Council President Morton,
Aye.
Councilor Topaz,
Aye.
Councilor Chilton,
Aye.
Councilor Berkeley,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well.
Mayor,
proof and
you missed resolution 1925.
I don't see that on my
Not on,
agenda.
Show me where it's at, Matt. You're right. You're right. Because it went from 24 to 26. Where's 25? Is that an oversight?
That is an oversight.
So what
I'm
was
happy
that one?
I'm happy to read it. It is a resolution number 1925, a resolution of the St. Helens City Council amending the city employee compensation plan for fiscal year 2021-2022. If you'll recall, you did approve a salary compensation schedule at a previous meeting. However, we have changed now. You have approved a new police salary schedule. And so we wanted to put the salary schedules all together in one resolution. We had to follow one resolution instead of two or three. So it is just replacing the salaries for the police with what you approved at the previous meeting.
Okay, well, Kathy or Lisa or somebody messed up and didn't put it on there.
It is though on the it's on the online packet.
Yeah.
I missed it by like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I had to redo it.
I've got
Okay,
it in my pile of papers, so, you know,
so would somebody like to make a motion to approve resolution 1925?
So moved as discussed.
second,
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve resolution 1925. Council President Morton,
Aye.
Councilor Topaz,
aye.
Councilor Chilton,
Aye.
Councilor Berkeley,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. I was curious. I just kept rolling with it though, because it went from 24 to 26. I'm just like, okay. Approve and authorize for signature. 7, agreement with Columbia Humane Society for Community Service Workers. 8, extension of agreement with Shannon. Not sure how to say that.
Medic.
Medic for pro tem judicial services. 9, extension of concession agreement with Worldwide ATM for ATM at 277 Strand Street. 10, extension of contract with CBM Systems LLC for janitorial services. And we're going to keep going here. This is a long one. 11, an agreement with Mark Comfort for cleanup of various properties, including declaration nuisance properties. 12, First Amendment to agreement with Keller Associates, Inc. for sanitary sewer and stormwater master plan updates. 13, agreement with Brown and Caldwell for consulting services for NPDES permitting renewal, negotiations, and implementation. 14, First Amendment to ground lease with 7th Street Container Lofts LLC. 15, contract with Edge Development for Campbell Park Sports Court project. I like that. 16, appeal AP point or 1.21 of partition PT point 2.21 city council findings and fact of conclusion of law. And 17, contract payments. That was a mouthful.
I mean, I move that we approve and authorize for signature items on the agenda 7 through 17 as read.
Second,
We have a couple questions.
Discussion.
Yep,
Yeah.
discussion. Go ahead. We'll open it
Okay.
up.
The first two, can I just get a brief overview of what those are? I was just curious about those. So agreement with Columbia Humane Society for Community Service Workers. What is that?
Yeah, sure, I'll do that. That is an agreement with the, much like it reads, the allows community service workers to use you get those hours at the Humane Society. I guess the short of it.
Okay. And what about the extension with Shannon Comectic for pro tem judicial services?
I can go ahead and jump on that one, John. We have a pro tem judge on contract just in case
Yeah.
there is a case that comes up that our current judge is not able to try because there is a conflict of interest. We've had a
Okay.
particular issue with one particular attorney in town, and there's been bar complaints back and forth. And so to protect the court, that municipal court that we have in our system, we do have on contract a pro tem judge to come in as a third party in case that attorney ever comes in. That way there is no issues at all as far as what cases they are seeing in our municipal court.
All right, that makes sense. Thank you.
Council Berkeley.
Okay. Yeah, just what are the janitorial services that CBM Systems provides?
Those would be the janitorial services for all of our public buildings. So City Hall, Police, Public Works, the water treatment plant. They come in and provide janitorial services. Also for the library, that is a contract services that has been contracted for many years. The city staff had some discussions before about hiring internally, but we wanted to continue the contract at least for another year because there's so much going on in the city. We don't need to bring on another internal service. So that's what this is.
Okay, thank you.
on 12, agreement with Mark Comfort cleanup of various properties. What does cleanup mean?
That's 11. Yes. Yep.
Well, I've got an old sheet there, Mayor. I start off with 8 for the Humane Society, and I end up at 18. So my numbering system is all.
It is a matter of the resolution 1925 that would have been number 6. And so the approve and authorize for signature on the new adjusted agenda was numbers 8 through 18.
Right.
But everything is still listed on there. It's just the numbering that is off from what
Right.
they are showing because of the resolution earlier.
Okay.
John, did you want to take the Mark Comfort question?
Just authorizes him to do the cleanup work of.
Do the work,
maintenance.
it's basically a time and material contract that allows the city to use a identified contractor to do whatever level of work can get done, so on a property. And that work becomes an opportunity to clean the house typically, because it would direct the work to get the property cleaned up. That comes back to you. The homeowner would have an opportunity to reimburse that, and if they don't, the city has a potential to, or the opportunity to, or authority to grant a lien on the property to collect it at some point in the future.
He was involved with some of the millwork too, correct?
Yeah, it's been really challenging to find anybody to do that kind of work. So
So
yeah, he did some of the millwork as well.
okay, as compared to just other properties. Okay, thank you.
Nuisance properties, we had an agreement for other, yeah.
Yeah, we actually had an agreement with Alonzo's yard service, and when it came up again to renew, he did not want to do it. And Mark stepped up and said, "Well, I'll do it, I guess." So, and is agreeing to do it still. So,
Yeah, it can be kind of hostile and confrontational, and not a lot of reward in the work. So, and sometimes, garbage in people's backyards isn't the most sanitary thing either. So.
okay. Any other discussion? Okay, so there's been a motion made and seconded to approve and authorize for signatures either 7 through 17 or 8 through 18, depending on what sheet you have. Council President Morton.
Aye.
Councilor Topaz.
Aye.
Councilor Chilton.
Aye.
Councilor Berkeley. I think he said aye.
Aye.
All right, no, I'm an aye as well. All right, appointments to city boards and commissions. We have an appointment for the library board, Councilor Topaz.
Yes, we have actually 3. We've got a strange appointment system right now. We have 3 vacancies and the positions end at the end of the month. And since these people want to continue into the next term, we're basically appointing them for the little piece plus the whole term. And it's Jenna Mann, Rob Dunn, and Diana Weiner. The board has interviewed them, accepted all of them, and recommends them to the council for appointment to the library board.
Okay, so rather than state all the names, does somebody just want to make a recommendation that we go with the recommendation from the library board?
That is correct.
To fill the
I
seat?
motion that we go with the recommendation from the library board.
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to go with the recommendation from the library board to appoint the library board members, 3 in total. Council President Morton.
Aye.
Councilor Topaz.
Aye.
Councilor Chilton.
Aye.
Councilor Berkeley.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Okay, and then I have a consent agenda for acceptance with nothing on my sheet. I don't know what anybody else's says, but then it goes consent agenda for approval. Is that what you're seeing, everybody?
I have 20 starting off, yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, there. Consent agenda for acceptance and then consent agenda for approval.
There's nothing for acceptance. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. Okay, consent agenda for approval, 19, new water system operator 2 job description, 20, new records and evidence specialist job description. 21, declare surplus property, public works vehicle. And 22, accounts payable bill list.
I move we approve consent agenda items number 19 through 22 as read.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve consent agenda 19 through 22. Council President Morton,
Aye.
Councilor Topaz,
Aye.
Councilor Chilton,
Aye.
Councilor Berkeley,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Okay, we have one thing that John wanted us to vote on earlier was the approval of the
Open container policy for city events. Yes.
Yep. So this isn't uncommon. We've done it before. It's went off without a hitch. And it'll still be monitored. There'll still be alcohol monitors there as far as watching people. And so would somebody like to make a motion for that?
Well, a quick question. John, this is really, we had the beer garden, which just basically had a fence around. We're really just moving the fence. Is that really, it's all
Yeah.
about?
You could think about it like that, or remove, yeah.
Removing the fence.
The fence is the area, which the area we're not necessarily
Okay, so-
entirely fencing the area.
So we designate an area, you can drink in this area. Before it used to be just a beer garden, but really we're just changing where the wording that we're using, the word area rather than beer garden, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so let's also incorporate the tailgating into that as far as the meal property for the 4th of July. So we're covering everything just for
Yeah.
that one event. So would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we adjust the beer drinking area as described by John Walsh to provide for each event as required.
All
Well,
right, I like it.
That's in his backyard.
I'm glad it
That's
was not
okay.
me.
Uh,
I second.
All right. So we have a motion made and seconded that is approving the beer drinking area.
Open, how about an open container?
Yeah, open container area.
An open container area to expand just to the boundaries of the park and for the 4th of July, the mill property. Council President Morton,
Yeah, aye.
Councilor Topaz,
Aye.
Councilor Chilton,
Aye.
Councilor Berkeley,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Okay, did we have anything else? I don't think we did from earlier. So what do I have to report on? 4th of July is coming. It's going to be a great show. Meeting with Western Fireworks on the roof on Saturday to discuss some logistics as far as setup and have the pyro on hand. We have Jeff Engelbritson from Paradise Mortgage who's helping out, and Diane Dillard's kind of stepped up and allowed us to use her mortgage down there. Some of the old players have stepped up and are helping out with this final shoot. And I hope it's not the final shoot. That's what I got to say is that I hope there's some community organizations out there that really want to step up and grab a hold of this. We've been announcing it for quite some time. What a great way, kind of the window's narrowing down very tightly, but what a great way to say, we're taking this over, please start donating at the shoot. You already have the city working that, taking it over, and we're asking you just to come in and start maybe saying, can you donate for next year's? And nobody has stepped up. And this is the opportune time to do that. Kind of heartbreaking. We put it out 2 months ago and nobody has stepped up yet. So that's what's really on my mind. That's what I have to report. Just because it's narrowing down, and then will be the Citizens Day after that. August 7th, if you're watching, is what the date is set for. And this city council is going to meet. If you're interested in being part of that, we are going to meet on July 14th at McCormick Park at 6 p.m. So, and we'll probably have Crystal put out a notification of that. Of course we will. And, but for the council, if you know any businesses out there, any nonprofits or anybody who wants to help enhance this, it's our event. It is our event. So, it's not, so encourage you to bring them to that meeting, because we're going to have only 3 weeks at that point in time to hash it out. We may have to have a quick special meeting just before, because that is a narrow window. Kathy's right, but I know we can do it. We're capable. We'll make it happen. Anything else to report? John Walsh and I walked with PUD board yesterday down the waterfront. They were just wanted to see what we had going on down there, what was, what's in the works, and just building that relationship with them. And the director, Mike Sykes, former city manager of Scappoose, he's kind of getting that board out and active, and the board is really stepping up and becoming obviously part of the community, because it was from our meeting to the county over at the old school. So they were doing a little tour of the whole area, which is great. You didn't see that with the old director. You didn't. So very encouraged by that and that relationship down the road. So trying to think of anything else.
Yeah, Mayor, I had one thing that we kind of didn't talk about today, and that was the public forum and the guide, kind of some direction. And that the road alignment project's moving on a pretty fast pace right now, and the staff recommendation and the consultant recommendation, we've been a lot of talk about uses and things that the general is the road closer to the bluff or closer to the middle. Discussion was kind of the
we're supposed
to action on right now.
You need a direction. So okay, so in our forum earlier, we seen 2 different proposals of the road alignment, and in moving forward, we need to give staff direction on it sounds like we're all for the second option. You seen the first one, which kind of split the property and put a building on the opposite side and held it away from the bluff. So we need to make a motion, and I'll go ahead and make it, as far as the second option, which was what were they calling it exactly?
The east.
Yeah, the east alignment. So
The east alignment. I'm gonna make a motion to approve the east alignment as far as moving forward.
It's actually the west alignment.
West alignment.
Yes.
It's the west.
Jenny, I'm glad you're paying attention. I'm gonna make a motion. I'm gonna retract that motion or amend it to west, not east.
Thank you, Jenny. I couldn't get my mute off.
I'm sitting here screaming.
Would somebody like to second that?
So I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to go with the west alignment on the road alignment.
Discussion.
Yep.
I really don't like either one of them. I'd like, as I say, I've been pushing to get that road closer to the river so people can drive by and see the river. Well,
so
it's my turn.
No way.
So
Let him talk.
You can
And
discuss,
one
yeah.
of the things
Let him
I
talk.
want to use the road placement as the tourism gadget, if you would, so people come here just to look at the river. There's a whole bunch of problems any way we look at this. And I think we were also hearing from these people, one of the things I heard from the people is they're all what I call local. They're all Oregonian and all have produced projects that look exactly like this. And that was the other thing that bothered me. I did not see something that was special to St. Helens. I saw this a copy with very small modifications of something else. We had people interested in pushing or emphasizing the Native American presence, and these road locations did not do any of that. So I think we have a problem of what do we really want to accomplish with this property? Putting buildings on it is not the idea. We want to somehow suck people from the outside world into downtown St. Helens, not people who live here having a nice place to live. I really have a philosophical problem with what we're planning.
Okay, so
That's my point.
anything else to add? Okay. So I'm gonna jump in next because I think the road alignment is perfect. I would not like Council Lopez, and this is nothing, I'm not trying to start a fight with you, but I do not want to smell exhaust, and I don't want to hear boom, 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 boom when I'm walking down the river. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to smell exhaust. I want to be able to hear the birds, hear the splash of the water. I don't want some vehicle behind me making all kinds of racket. Maybe their belts squealing or whatever. It just makes completely more sense. And we have quite a bit of that. Expansion is a lot further than it looks. If you look at the old building on that strand, that the park is going to be huge. The park is going to be bigger than I anticipated. I'm guessing there's probably, with the boardwalk, which is public, all the way down and all the way around, I'm guessing there's probably 7 to 8 acres out of the entire 24 that are public lands.
I agree.
Oh, Rick, I'm not so much on the park, but the noise that you described with the roads. Sit here at St. Helens Street and watch that noise go by. Do we have any ordinances that calm that down? Because it really gets you. When you say you get annoyed, you're really putting a very nice face on some of those people. That really gets annoying.
Well, and you know what? There is some type of ordinance, but every place you go, you hear that. It's not one of those things. It's not one of those things that you can really police very well unless it's after hours. And then even then you have to be there at the opportune time and catch them actually in the act of. So, but any other discussions on the west alignment?
Yeah, I would like to jump in. So I voiced my concern earlier a little bit. So you guys have already heard a little bit of my concern. And I still at this point, I'm really torn, just to be honest with you. I am feeling conflicted about it because I see the value in extending the park and I see that use, but I don't think that that is the message that we have been putting out there for the public. I really think that they're expecting a lot more public use at that end of the property, which is going to be left with a bike path, like that's it. And then the shore. And I'm conflicted. And for that reason, I'm not persuaded on the road placement right now. I'm just not.
So I hear you, Councilor Chilton, about that, but I think that the even with the west alignment, as was mentioned at the forum, all of the stuff between First Street and the Riverwalk is conceptual. I personally also would like to see the possibility of, even with the expansion of Columbia View Park and some of that additional park space, would hope that we do give some consideration with the developer or whatever for some maybe additional public space, like at that spot you mentioned, that might tie in well with a marina if we put a marina there. So I think based on that, that everything between South First and the Riverwalk is pretty much is conceptual only. And we're focusing on the road alignment. I think that the west alignment does give us more options for perhaps a greater amount of maybe public space if we go that way than the east alignment does.
And the zoning that the gentleman talked about is not done yet, and we are going to be the people who parcelize that property. So that last parcelization that you seen, Jessica, we could just say no, half that we're taking off, and we have the city council has a different idea for it.
When we
Or
could
we want
put a
that-
road in there, if we do put a marina at that end.
Yeah,
and we
absolutely.
Could put a road in, okay.
Yeah, it's just the two roads that we're trying to get the sewer and the water and the infrastructure, the asphalt, get the roads in place. That's really what this is about. Those buildings were just conceptual. That's just showing, that's just for filling in. And even the parcelizations are. We really could rezone that differently, however we see fit. But I will say this, is that 5 different consultants, Kim to Tocola to Atkins Day to all agreed on the West one. So, they do this for a living. They are well known.
Rick, these 5 consultants are all shadows of each other. They're very local. And that's what bothers me. I would have expected somebody to be quite different, but they were all, in step. And that's what bothered me. When I get 5 people.
I disagree,
we picked
Councilor
them.
Topaz. Roy Kim talked about St. Helens like he knew the place. Very different. If you actually read his answers, they were very different than the other.
I agree, but I'm talking about the whole mass. I wanted to see more, a much larger variety of thoughts.
And I would just respectfully not like to talk about the builders that I have not done research on in this council. To stick to what we have in front of us is a presentation by OTAC that did reference some builders in order to make their decision. And even through our staff, their staff, and the builders all went with the West alignment. And there has been a motion made and seconded. And we're going to not further this discussion. We're going to vote on this. Council President Morton?
Aye.
Okay. Councilor Topaz?
Aye.
Okay. Councilor Chilton?
I'm an aye with the idea that it's concept, so.
Yeah, correct.
Yes. Councilor Berkeley?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Okay. So that was in my report. And that'll be the end of my report. Council President Morton.
Yeah, I was just going to, in my report, I was encouraged by our forum today, and it's been a long time. It's been a huge amount of time, and to kind of like, to me, it's a milestone, and it's that we've got the forum behind us in a sense, and we can move forward. And all this is a road alignment. And it's really not that big a deal that we just had to choose something very, very simple of where the road is going to go. Instead of getting hung up on the little details of what the concept of maybe this will be or maybe that will be, we've got to put in a road. We got to be pedaling around throughout, more public forums, more redo this again. One, it costs a lot of money, and 2, it wastes a lot of time. And it's just a matter of getting the roads in and getting our engineering staff and people on board to move forward. So I'm happy that this was decided tonight, and I appreciate that. On a better note, I don't know if you've noticed this, but anyone who drives down Highway 30 on the south end has never looked as good. Matter of fact, Public Works has gone up all the way to the railroad tracks to clean up that mess, clean up the brush and everything. It looks like like our city workers really have a lot of pride. Further, you go past Columbia Boulevard and go go north, and you have the chamber. That area in front of the chamber has never looked better. since the time that I moved back to St. Helens. It is cleaned up and starting to get very well kept. And I'm very proud of the work that Public Works people are making in our city along the highway apron. Go further north, and it continues. And you see the work continuing all the way to Deer Island Road. And it's and a lot of that is a work in progress. There's infrastructure issues down by Deer Island Road, but heaven's sakes, that it is just a huge difference from 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Oh my heavens, it's night and day. So I just want to give kudos to our public works staff for taking pride in what our community looks like by people who are passing by. Over 40,000 cars pass by that area daily. And a lot of people form their opinion about St. Helens by what they see out their window. So I just huge kudos to Public Works. They do a lot more than that. They do a lot more that isn't seen as well, with pride as well. So that's very, very appreciative. Anyway, feel good about what's going on in our parks, and that's it for me.
All right, thank you, Doug. Councilor Topaz.
Well, one of the things I don't have to say, if you read the front page of the Chronicle, there's a really good spread on what our library's been doing. Margaret and her crew have been pushing the limits to open up as much as possible. And some of the groups have been meeting outside because the way the rules are, you can't meet inside. And hopefully there'll be a big deluge when the governor drops the hammer and allows us to open up. The other thing that the library is looking into, and they've done quite a bit, you've heard about the makerspace and the STEM programs. And the library is starting to look forward into how to enlarge that type of program, because that's one of the up and coming programs across the country of getting people involved in making things and science and technology. So that's another part of that they're doing quite well at. And they really should be congratulated on that. But the article in the newspaper says a great deal. The library's been chomping at the bit to open up. This pandemic is playing problems with everybody. So that's all I have to say right now.
Yeah, they were just getting that makerspace done when this pandemic started, just kind of buttoning stuff up, and this pandemic started.
Yep.
So, yes. Yep.
And we're a people group, and we couldn't have people.
So, yes, I would encourage, echo what Councilor Topaz said, and encourage people to, if you're not familiar with what the makerspace is, to call the library, find out about what it is, with 3D printing machines, to all kinds of cool things that you're able to do in that makerspace. So, Councilor Chilton.
Well, as a lot of you guys are probably aware of, the softball leagues and baseball leagues have all started up. Baseball just finished, and that's what Councilor Morton was referring to earlier about the 5th Street ballpark. And so that's been really exciting to see them out there. I have a T-baller. My 4-year-old played her first year of T-ball this year and had her first game tonight. And I didn't get to see it, but that's okay. Dad's coaching, so lots of memories there. And that's really exciting. I'm glad to see people out there on the fields and getting, watching games and kind of getting back to normal a little bit. Adult league starts at McCormick at the end of the month, so I'm looking forward to being sore for a good couple of weeks after my first game. But that'll be fun, and it'll be fun to see all my softball friends again. I haven't seen them in a while, so I'm looking forward to that. I drove by McCormick Park tonight and took a look at the playground. When I stopped over there about 3 o'clock, they were pouring concrete. So I know they're getting close to the finishing touches on it, and it's really looking great. I got to see lots of cool equipment they're putting in, and I'm just very excited for it. And I keep checking it out every couple of days to see if they're almost done. Like, are they done yet? It's getting closer and closer though. That's really exciting. I am really looking forward to the 4th of July. It's going to be a really great show, and my family and I will actually be camping on Sand Island. So I'm really looking forward to having that view. It's really nice waking up on Sand Island and looking at the beautiful city from the island. So I'm looking forward to that. And I think it'll be a great time for everybody. And I see lots of planning going on and lots of excitement around town about 4th of July and lots of happy people. So it's always good to hear about that. I'm also really looking forward to my first Citizens Day, which is coming up in August. So I put some feelers out there for local organizations and volunteers and anybody interested in being involved in that. So hopefully I'm able to rake in a few. And I attended the Parks Commission meeting with Councilor Morton last week, and it was my first time ever attending that, and I just kind of wanted to see the ins and outs and how it operates, and it was really eye-opening, and I learned a lot, and I got to see how well that commission really functions and how large it is. It's, you know, I think there was 10 people in there in just that one meeting, so it's a pretty big commission, and there was lots of great input and feedback, and everybody seemed really involved. So it was really nice to see how healthy that commission is. And there's lots of great work being done in local parks, and I got to hear a little bit about that, and I was really excited. Got to kick in some feedback about the tables and trash cans, which we talked about tonight. And yeah, that's all I have going on.
All right. Council Berkeley.
Okay. I went out for a nice walk yesterday, including up to the softball fields at Boise. And it's when I'm walking, I have lots and lots of thoughts, and I was composing this grand flourish of oratory. And of course, I didn't write it down, the notes, and going to have to just do with these sporadic thoughts. But no, one thing about the softball fields that I did notice, as we're developing the business park, I hope that we keep to the forefront what we're going to do, to replace the ball fields at least temporarily or something before we get rolling on that. So I think that is was never much involved with athletics, my own kids and all, and so never really was with the crowd of people for whom it isn't important. But that walk yesterday did open my eyes and a little bit more. And I think that even one of the games, I think, was maybe a father-daughter game or something going on. So that just, when we move ahead with the business park, that we're making sure that we do address this important resource of the softball fields, and at least a temporary way, so that those games can go, that activity can go on uninterrupted. This is kind of a peripheral issue, but since many of our residents commute and go over Cornelius Pass, man, it's paved from Highway 30 up to Germantown. It is paved. That frankly worries me a little bit, because driving back late at night on a rainy day, I was counting on all the bumps and swerves to kind of keep me alert, and getting used to a smooth roadbed is taking a little getting used to, but that's nice. And I'm sure a lot of the people who are commuting are appreciating the improvements on Cornelius Pass. Cornelius Pass, the new state highway. And I hope that those improvements continue. I'm going to be starting in a short way, monthly walks, tours of Dalton Lake. So working with Shauna on that, just to get to introduce people to the to that great that great place, and the great work, yes, that the Parks and Trails Commission is doing. I understand that they're just doing great work with with Dalton Lake. And so if you ever want a guided tour, second Saturday of the month is what we're shooting for, 10 to noon. And every tour is different because of the change of the seasons and things going on. Another thought I had when I was walking yesterday, again, I was looking at where the new public safety facility would be built, and all the impact that's going to have on trees. And so I'm hoping that maybe in some ways, as we talk about design of the building facility, there might be some way of at least repurposing some of those, some of that wood, that lumber, the oak or the firs, somehow repurposing that in even the design or architecture of the facility, or in some other ways. And again, just as we develop the business park, the impact, hoping that we'll be able to preserve as many of those trees as possible. But if they do have to go, that we look at ways of maybe not just selling the wood off, although maybe that would help alleviate some of the expenses of development, but just thinking about ways that we can then how we as a city can, just like we require tree plans for other developers, what is our own tree plan when we're taking out trees? What can we do to replace those trees, or begin to work towards having what I want to say. Maybe we can collect the acorns from the oaks there and start a little a white oak nursery. So anyway, just those kinds of things that the development is going to be inevitable for a lot of this, but how much can we do to mitigate some of that? I did have a nice discussion with the chairperson, Dan Carey, chair of the Planning Commission, just to debrief about our decision 2 weeks ago, and the one we formalized today regarding the appeal of their decision. I did talk with him too about our discussion about, yes, we do want to get together to have some kind of discussion or retreat. And I'm also asked him about what the practice of prior liaisons has been, since there's no real job description for that, and got a variety of ways that council members have interacted. And so it's just trying to find and work with the commission about finding out ways that they could see how that liaison role works, and how I can be a good conduit liaison between the council and the commission. The two last items, it is Pride Month. I think that as just I'd like us to maybe think about when we do have these different celebrations coming up. I think, or acknowledgement. I think like last month was the month for Asian Pacific Islanders, etc. That I know our city, we have our non-discrimination and our inclusion resolution, and that we very much as a city do honor the diversity in our community, but finding some way maybe just to at least informally acknowledge those things at our council meeting each month. So again, for folks who might be wondering what this is, it's my Sharpies in the rainbow. I couldn't find a Pride button or flag, so I my weak attempt to honor that. Finally, I have to recognize, I hope we have a short executive session meeting, because it is my wife's birthday, and we had to postpone having a real nice dinner for another night, but there will be cake. There will be cake tonight. And so I'm looking forward to being able to celebrate with her because we will be celebrating our 35th anniversary next month. So I just want to shout out to my wife for putting up with me as being a member of the council. She does make a lot of adjustments to her own life, and I just want to shout out to her. Happy birthday, Jen. Cake before too long. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Councilor Berkeley. I have a question
Mayor,
for you.
can I throw a redo in a minute?
Yeah, in just a minute. Question for Councilor Berkeley. When you met with the chair of the Planning Commission, said you were discussing our public hearing last week, which was very long, or 2 weeks ago. What was part of that discussion as far as just curious for future meetings? I would like to know kind of what the chair had to say about our decision versus maybe their decision. And
well,
how we.
Yeah, well, as my discussion with him is, I wanted to assure him that, for my part, and I believe the other members of the council took very seriously the work that the Planning Commission did and their thoughts and going into the work. So I wanted to honor that. But I also wanted to assure him that this was something that each council member, that we ourselves entered into deliberation entered in deliberation by taking into account the work that they had done, but also that we had been presented with some additional arguments. And I think as far as the commission, our Chairperson Carey does not speak for the whole commission, and I do intend just to reach out to all of the commissioners just to talk. But I think Chairman Carey's position was that, as I discussed with him, that that we did have a 4.5-hour session, that we had hundreds of pages of information presented to us, that it came down that we thought we had to that we were enforcing the code. Seemed fine with that, Chairman Carey himself can't vote. I didn't acknowledge that.
He can in the tie.
In something, but he himself had not voted on that particular issue, and it was unanimous by the other members present. I can just say, for Chairman Carey's point, my desire was just to reach out and see if he had any issues or questions about that. But it was primarily, I guess one thing that did come out is, I do, as a liaison, again, I wasn't sure of what process happened, so that after last meeting, what process about who might formally notify the commission of what decision has or has not been made.
Sure.
It seems to me that there's not a real a process, and so it's just kind of trying to figure out, when I was talking about the issue about what the role of the liaison is, how we can set up those expectations and structures for communication between the council and the commission, so we make sure that we're talking.
Councilor Berkeley, I have something that I want to ask you. I think one of the things that's real important in this is that you are the liaison, and you need to report to us, because we don't know what's going on in the Planning Commission, in a sense. And I'm glad the mayor asked the question of, how did they react? What's going on? What's the temperament of the Planning Commission? We don't know. But we do not know.
And
So I do know. So I do not know. I do know what Commissioner Carey has said. I do plan to reach out to the commission, but also they did not have a meeting this month. So they did not meet this month. So there was not an opportunity to speak with them in that public time. And again, I am, yes, coming to an understanding of what this role is and means. And I believe that I am doing my best at this time to try to clarify that. So I appreciate your input, Counselor Morton. And I had nothing to communicate with you except what I have communicated tonight, that I had a conversation with Chairman Carey, and I intend to reach out to the rest of the commission. And they have not had a meeting since our decision.
Well, and so I was just asking also in the nature of moving forward, because what we seen and what we heard when there was two of the attorneys there, but there was actually our attorney at our meeting, and that was the facts and the codes and the laws, and not feelings and animals and all that stuff that we take into consideration. And we totally did not have ex parte contact, and we made a fair decision. We made a completely fair decision, which, you know, that's what council, why we supersede them.
I don't think anyone's arguing that.
Yeah,
I don't understand the hostility.
So, because what I was going to say with what I agreed with Counselor Berkeley in that meeting, if you recall, he said, shouldn't the Planning Commission deny on a code? And I agreed that they should deny, not on a feeling, on a code and so in our meeting moving forward, I would like to bring this one example and bring our attorney to maybe educate the Planning Commission that feelings don't matter and ordinances do. They do, Jessica. When it comes to that, it's the laws.
I don't think she's arguing that.
I think that the way that Counselor Berkeley handled it is what a liaison is supposed to do.
And I'm not
supposed to say, I support you, and here's we laid down the law, and here's what it is. But you guys
Counselor Chilton,
that's not fair. Don't
Counselor
interrogate.
Chilton, can I finish?
No, I just don't know anything about the Planning Commission, and I've been waiting to learn about the Planning Commission, what they do on a month by month. I know I have the Parks Commission, and that's what I report on. I don't report on anything else.
I'm not calling Patrick out.
Neither am I.
I'm trying to look at moving forward with a meeting that has depth and meaning, other than just a meeting for our community, that we allow the Planning Commission, because in my opinion, and I will say this personally, that they need to reference code like the old Planning Commission used to do and deny on those bases. And I think they've come in a different direction, and that's me. And Council Berkeley brought it up in our public hearing with our attorneys. You did bring it up, and I agree with you 100%. You can go back and watch the video. You did.
I'm not arguing, Mayor.
No,
I'm
not
not denying what you're saying.
You are the way that you're talking to him is not. It's making everyone else be defensive. You guys need to think about how you're communicating, because you're not communicating in a positive way to a fellow
Counselor Chilton, I don't need you to educate me on communication. I'm a 48-year-old male.
I think that you
now
do.
Wait,
Sir.
you need to. This is my meeting, and I am in charge. Okay, now please. I was trying to clarify our meeting and our
This
meeting.
is really embarrassing.
You are embarrassing yourself right now. I'm trying to clarify, and moving forward with our Planning Commission meeting, what would that look like? I asked Counselor Berkeley, because he mentioned that he had talked to the chairperson, the person in charge that runs the meeting. I run this meeting. He runs that meeting. I am mayor, and I can ask a question just like every counselor. And if I want clarification or I want to sit and argue the point, that's my role as mayor. And if I want to call order, I will call order. So that's just the way it is. That's the nature of being mayor. So for clarification and moving forward, I was just trying to get a feel of what was said in that conversation. And that was why I asked Councilor Berkeley about the relationship what is the planning commission chair, because he has a pretty good read on his commission. And I think I have a pretty good read on the council. I think we are professional. I think we get passionate. I think we all misunderstand each other on occasion. That does happen. I know that we all want what's best for this community. That's why I was asking the question about our decision on policy, and do we want to, in the future meeting, bring our attorney and reference that there should have been at least some type of policy, because policy can be interpreted on the basis of the denial of, and not just this one. It's happened 3 times. It's happened Emerald Meadows, which is now developed on the rezoning, and also, and I need to call it out, also when Lennar wanted to come in and do a on the, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Instead of 35%, they wanted 37%. What's the word I'm looking for? Because I've lost it.
Variance.
Variance. Lennar, and we approved that when they denied that. And if you go out into that neighborhood, it is built out, and they were pre-approved, but they were denied, and on just feelings they didn't want to. And it was a right decision that we had made, and we hear differently probably than what they do. So I just want, they should have referenced code on that, and that's all I was trying to ask.
So in my conversation, I believe that was one of the things that I did talk about, was that in their determination, there was not the reference to code. My sense is that, yes, and I, at previous commission meetings, have expressed that interest in meeting, developing the agenda. I did mention also, Mayor, and mentioned to him, or we talked about, having the availability of city attorneys at their meetings in order to provide that guidance. So I think all that is fair game. I guess I need to, not sure then, the procedure would be to how to schedule such a meeting. I know we talked about early fall. I think we talked about early fall in our meeting. But again, as I'm still trying to learn how this is done, who then am I to try to coordinate the meeting? Is that something I can ask John to work with us? How does that go about to set that up? And then, yes, to set the agenda to include, and one of the things actually that the Schlumberger's attorney said, made a passing reference to the training or whatever of the training of planning commissioners. I thought, okay, that makes sense. We have a new commission. We have at least one new commissioner. And as a city council member, was provided with orientation and information by Kathy and staff. So yeah, looking at that, what can we do to provide continuing education for our commission members? And especially as we get new commission members, what can we do to bring them up to speed and orient them? If that includes meeting with our attorneys as part of that, definitely, so that we can, because the Planning Commission is not like the other commissions, since it deals so closely with the codes and has even what was the judicial. So I do see that as all valuable when we do that. So I guess it is, how do we go about, what is the process for actually arranging the meeting with the commission?
That's exactly what I was just trying to figure out and moving forward, and why I was asking the questions, because you are our liaison, and I'll just say this: it has happened once before, and there's a current member on there who has literally came up to me and said that we sold out because we reversed their decision. And that's not the way this should work. We hear things differently, and we see things differently. But that was years ago on the Emerald Meadows when we zoned that into R5. I don't know if you heard it, Doug, but there was
Yes.
only two of us. Yeah, there was only us two that are currently on this council that probably made that decision and heard that. And there's still quite a few of those people on there. And I want to set the record straight that, you know, if you're out there in the community and you're saying that we sold ourselves, we sold out, go look at the neighborhood now. Did we really sell ourselves out? And I'm not going to call them out personally, but it did happen. So that's part also what I want to discuss at this meeting as well. And I don't understand, you know, I know planning commission deals with a lot and I respect them, but I just also wanted to have a little respect in return as far as, you know, we see things differently because we have attorneys and we follow code.
Mhm.
We set the policies, we adhere to them. Anything else? I'm sorry to go sideways on your report. Tell your wife happy birthday, okay?
Will do.
All right.
Can I jump
so-
in now?
Yes, you can, Councilor Lopez.
Okay.
Quick.
Following Chilton's comments that 4th of July is coming, remember that there's the ringing of the bells. Judy Thompson, I think this is
Yes.
the 6th year. There's most of the churches that have bells will be ringing. It will start off at 2:00 when the bell in the courthouse rings. The courthouse has that bell plus the bell in front of the annex. It also has a bell in the lighthouse behind it. The fire department jumps in. St. Wenceslaus in Scappoose is part of the program, as well as St. Frederick's. The Methodist Church, the Episcopal Church, the Presbyterian Church are all joining in. Some of the bells will be rung by the Boy Scouts and some by the veterans. So this was started by John F. Kennedy, and this is the hour of the signing of the Constitution. So enjoy the music. There will be more information and more things happening downtown. There's actually going to be a small speech or having to do with the Constitution and the freedoms. So it's a little bit of a thing on the plaza going there today, or going on the 4th. So come
Yep,
and
there'll be
enjoy.
American Heritage Girls. You're right. American Heritage Girls. Frank Hupp gives a nice little speech. They're going to have a car show down there. Good point. Good go back, Councilor Topaz. Everybody have a happy, safe 4th. Good barbecues, this and that. It is our birthday as a country. So I'm going to adjourn, and then we're going to take a 5-minute break, and we're going to reconvene our executive session. Okay. So we are adjourned. So hang tight,